Whoa. God, I can't even see you over this thing. Oh, man, how you guys doing? Oh, outstanding. Okay, so they always tell me, you should give like an introductory, whatever, opening statement or something. I'm like, yeah, I don't do those. But anyway, I do know that it was a big offseason in the media. Where's Nolan? Yeah, man, congrats to you. Couple things. Number one, you get married, huh? Yeah, nice. Nothing like that. My favorite was the honeymoon. So two of you, man, you don't know where you're going, how you're going to get there, all that stuff, but you know you got a partner. There's nothing like it. So congrats to you, and then also you marry her, and then you get a promotion. Dang it, man. Stick with her. Okay, so that was that. And then Burkett and I, we have a different little path. I grew up dreaming of being in the Olympics, and then I met football, and then she took over. So I'm with her now. And then he started with football, and now he's at the Olympics. So good luck to him. And then my favorite story of the offseason is my man, Justin Rogers. Where's Justin? Yeah, there he is right there. So DetroitFootball.net. Is that right? Fair to say. Yeah, man. I love that, and I really do have a lot of respect for that, and I love that for a lot of reasons. But I think any time that a person bets on themselves is incredible. And we see that a lot in this game in sports, and there's some players that make decisions to stay here or go somewhere else for an opportunity. Or there's people out there who decide, hey, man, I'm going to leave that job with that guaranteed check, and I'm going to go try to get something better than that or make something better than that. And I got a lot of respect for that, so that's awesome, man. Congrats to you. Okay, with that, I'll take any questions.
I think it's all just said last question.
Yeah, no, Badgley, I'll start with that actually also because the guy's a special player and a special person. He loves this game, and he had really the best offseason he's ever had, I think, probably in his career. I think it'd be fair to say that. And he was in a great spot. And I said to you guys in the offseason that he'd really worked hard on his leg and making long field goals and adjusting a little bit of his technique. And anyways, he had a great offseason. He came into training camp ready to go, and then obviously got injured. And I know Coach Campbell said something about it, but he won't be with us this year. So I'm devastated for him. It's obviously a part of this game, and it's really the worst thing as a coach. I think it's the hardest thing for a coach to deal with. So anyways, we wish him well. I know this. It'll make a good chapter in his book. I know he's motivated to come back and all that. So I look forward to getting him back when that time's able. But in the meantime, we're happy with the guy we got here. Obviously, Brad Holmes and those guys did a great job of picking up Jake Bates in the offseason. So we're excited to see what he can do, too.
We asked you about Jake way prematurely. You weren't ready to comment, understandably. Such an interesting story, right? Didn't kick in college and goes to the UFL and showcases tremendous talent. When do you know a guy has it, right? Like we see such a mixed bag with these young kickers that maybe even are good in college and then, it doesn't port over. Like when do you, as a coach, kind of know that he's got the right mix of intangibles and skill to succeed in this league?
Yeah, I think our job here in the NFL is easier, I think, than like when you're coaching college or you're coaching high school. I think it's a little bit harder because I think there has to be a little bit more of a projection when you're at that level. When you're here in the NFL, you get the opportunity to watch these guys play before you. Now, him, not quite as much, but at the end of the day, I mean, when did we know we had it? We knew probably when you knew, when you watched him make these big kicks here in our stadium, and you're saying, God, who is this guy? So really it just comes down to when you're playing and you're in games and all that stuff and you can make kicks like he was doing, then you're starting to look close at it. And then I think I've told you guys before, I mean, you do take a big picture look and you're trying to get a lot of data and numbers because I think at that position, my experience tells me at that position that you're going to be who you are. And if you're making all your kicks in practice, then you're probably going to make more of them in a game. If you're missing a lot of them in practice, you're probably going to miss more in games. So anyway, yeah, you're looking for a large sample size. He doesn't have quite as much of that, so there are some unknowns with him. but he's also got a great demeanor, and when you get to know him, he came in here for a visit, and he was looking at our place and a couple others, and we got to know him and felt real good about that also. And that's a part of it, because I think in this game, we were talking about this on the practice field the other day, but in this game, just like in life, I mean, there's going to be ups and downs, and you're going to have some good days and you're going to have some bad days, and that's just inevitable, and it really doesn't matter who you are. But as long as you're a good person, you got a bunch of teammates and people around you that believe in you and really are fighting for you, when you have those down days, they'll help bring you back up, and I think that's important. In this game, and especially at that position. And sometimes those guys don't fit in as well with the team, and I think so when they go through those down times, they have a harder time in getting the support of their teammates with them. And I think that makes it harder for those guys to have long-term success. And so I'm excited about him. I mean, he's a good guy, fits in well, and I think he'll have a chance here.
Jake, kind of following up on the personality and demeanor aspect of Jake, I spoke to him yesterday, and he really said that his mindset doesn't change with Badgley's injury. How important is it that it's just a guy who's focused on the work and staying in the moment? And what have you seen from him that kind of gives you that encouragement that he is that guy?
Yeah, I would say, number one, it's obviously early for us. You know, I haven't been around him for a long, long time, but I would say that he seems to be pretty level-keeled. You know, I haven't seen his demeanor change much since he's got here. I do feel like he's on a mission to prove himself and who he is, and that he can make it in this league. I think I feel that every time I've been around him. You know, when the Badgley thing happened, it happened actually during warm-ups, and when it happened, I mean, he didn't blink or skip a beat. You know, he just went about his business. I think, and we talked about this with the specialists the other day, because we have some competition here in training camp with 2 long snappers in here, and at the time we had 2 kickers. And the only thing I can say is the more you just take care of yourself and worry about yourself, the better off you're going to be. And I think the more that you're looking at, oh, well, I did better than him on that drill, or I did better than him on that rep. You start comparing. Comparison gets in the way of a lot of things. And I think when you start comparing yourself with other people or other reps and your rep, and you lose sight of you're wasting energy on other things that you can't control, and you're better off served if you just put all that time and energy into yourself and making yourself the best player you can be. And I think that he has that approach or mindset and mentality.
There were reports of 4 kickers being brought in. How encouraged were you from what you saw, and what's the possibility of a real good competition with Jake Bates when?
Yeah, I don't really have all the answers for that. Obviously, Brad and those guys make all, and Brad and Dan and their staff make all those decisions, really. The one thing that I will say, and I'm not just saying this because I'm up here, I hope you guys know, I believe in telling the truth. Anyways, the bottom line is they brought 4 guys in, and what I'm going to tell you is every time that we've been in a position, and we've been in a position where we've been looking for kickers or looking for players, and every time we brought players in, I look at the list and we get an email and they say, hey, we're bringing these 4 guys in, and you look at it and you're like, every time I've done it, I've looked at it and said, man, like, they did an incredible job of finding these guys. And so there's a couple guys in there we feel good about. Whether or not we bring them in or not, I don't know. But I do know that I have a lot of respect for our pro staff and the way that they evaluate talent, and they're really ahead of the curve. And every time that we're looking for someone, they bring in some really good options.
You still have a month to figure it out, but do you think you're in a better place now with the new kickoff rule, having done it in the spring, the first week here, and maybe just quick reaction to how it's gone so far the first few days of camp?
Yeah, number one, I would say I'm excited about it. Number two, I would say I think it's like a lot of things. The more you learn about something, the more questions you have. And so there's still a lot of unanswered questions. You know, I can't wait to watch this Hall of Fame game and see these guys actually play the play out. It's a little bit different than the other league that was using it, 2 years ago. So it'll be interesting to see. You know, we're going to get a chance to practice against the Giants, and I was just on the phone with their coach the other day, And so hopefully we'll get a chance to kind of see some different schemes and throw some different things at each other and learn a little bit more about it. But there's a lot of unknown. I think at the end of the day, what I told our players is, we'll be ready to adjust on the scheme and all that stuff, but any play in football is going to come down to the same old things. It's going to come down to blocking or evading a blocker, and then it's going to come down to tackling, and it's going to come down to making somebody miss. And so at the end of the day, we'll spend a lot of time on fundamentals and technique, and then we'll also be ready to adjust and adapt to any other thing that we see out there we think is successful.
I like to think you've got like a dream journal by your bedside. You wake up at 4 in the morning and you are jotting down notes about this new kickoff. But before you go, one guy I really wanted to ask about today is Darius Fountain. He's making some plays on offense. He's getting an opportunity, and with that, those guys don't make the roster without being able to contribute on special teams. He has the punt, he downs inside the 10 yesterday. Like when you got a guy like that and you're trying to find the best usage for him, like how does that process work for you? As you're just kind of tinkering with so many different moving pieces during training camp.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I always say this. I think I said, last time or a year ago, but I think this was a couple years ago. I don't have a great memory, but I think a couple years ago we were talking about this up here, and I said, this time of year, what I really focus on is like evaluating skill sets, and it's really trying to find out like, okay, what's this player do great? What does he not do as well? If we have him, where would we play him and how would we use him? Because ultimately for me, the decision comes down to, okay, the final cuts are made, and sometimes, there's a guy on there that I was like, oh, this guy will be great. Sometimes that guy's not there, but it doesn't really matter. Our job is really to make do with what you got and make the most of it. And so for me, it's, okay, here's the roster. We cut down, here's the roster, and now it's like, okay, on this play, who are our best 11 players, and how can we put them all in the best position to be successful for themselves, but also for the team. And so this time of year, you're just evaluating players and skill set and things they do really well, things they don't do as well, so that ultimately, if he's on the roster, where does he fit and how can we play him and use him? So it's really a lot of that this time of year. Now, do I have guys who I really like and, whatever, maybe some I don't like as much or I think could be more useful or less useful? Sure. But ultimately, it really doesn't come down to that. I tell the players, the old days of like, hey, you're going to make this team on special teams, that's over. You really make the team on offense, defense, and special teams. And the more you can do in this business, the better off you're going to be. And it's really good. I mean, it's how it should be. It's if you want to build a good football team, then you need a bunch of guys who can do a lot of different things. All right, appreciate it. Good to see you.